Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. I'm Rachel Fiori, spiritual leader and CEO of Masters of Self University. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to this latest episode of our Masters of Self University podcast. We're going to dive deep into one of the worst ways that we sabotage our relationships. And that is by showing up as a wounded inner child, forcing our partners or other people, forcing them into the role of our parent. So we need to understand that when we show up as an inner child, when our inner child gets activated, we often force other people to show up as a parent, and a parent who is going to scold you, nag you, punish you, give you consequences. Not the kind of relationship we want to have. I see this the most in business and our careers, the people we work with and for, and I see this the most in romantic relationships. I'm actually going to start in career and business. I'm going to start with giving you examples of how we show up as a child, forcing upper management, for example, to be the parent and not the parent that we want them to be. Okay. So we force other people to play certain roles with us without any awareness that this is what we are actually creating for ourselves. So we need to wake up to how we are doing this, because it can save a lot of you so much suffering and grief and frustration in your different types of relationships when you realize you're the one forcing someone to show up in a way that nags you, that scolds you, that punishes you, that points out your flaws. Okay. So we need to understand how we're doing this. So I'm going to start with, business, career, and then I'm going to move over to romantic relationships. I'm going to give you real life examples from clients and people I've worked with in the past so that you can understand and relate this to how might you be doing this in your life? Oh my God, you heal this, you will save yourself so much suffering and frustration. So here's how we do it. So I'm going to give you an example of a client. So I had one client that one of his complaints and one of his frustrations was he wasn't appreciated at work. That was it. That management, the people who hired him, didn't appreciate him. They didn't validate him. They didn't hear him. They didn't see him. They didn't appreciate him as the person who was the professional that they hired him for. Okay. So at first it was just, his complaint was, they don't appreciate me. I'm just not appreciated. And he kept saying that over and over again. What does that look like? What does that sound like? In what ways are they showing up in a lack of appreciation for you? And it was, well, they don't accept my ideas. They don't see me. They don't say, like, they don't acknowledge that I'm the one that says, as the professional who know I'm the one with the experience, I say, this is how we solve this solution. This problem that we have, here's the solution. So they weren't verbally praising him. That's how it started. They were not giving him verbal praise. Now, here's what's interesting. I'm going to tell you right now so that I don't have to make this a 3-hour episode. They 100% were giving him verbal praise constantly. Like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. Yes. Oh my God, this is why we hired you. That's awesome. Amazing. Okay. How do we do this? Step by step, break it down for us. They were acknowledging him, validating him constantly. Here's what I want you to learn. He was, and I mean this literally, he was literally unable to hear it, to see it, to witness that they were, in fact, validating him, praising him, giving him the accolades. He literally couldn't hear it, see it, acknowledge it within himself because he was coming from wounding. We come from egoic distortion when we are wounded. You didn't even say thank you. You didn't even appreciate me. You didn't even. What we do is we are projecting onto them. You're not seeing me. You're not validating me. You're not hearing me. So what he started doing was scheduling meetings. He was requesting meetings from upper management, saying, I don't feel appreciated in this position, blah, 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 blah. Vomiting all of his wounding, projecting that on. And they were like, really sorry you feel this way, man, because we actually think you're great. That's why we hired you. I'm not sure how you want us to appreciate you, but we tell you all the time, like, your ideas are amazing. Like, if we don't say it enough, I mean, we'll pay more attention. If we don't say it enough, I'll say it right now. Of course, we appreciate you. We think you're fantastic, blah, blah, blah. And they would give him all the verbal validation, the praise, and he'd feel really good for a few minutes, few days, few weeks. And then it would go right back into this cycle of they're not hearing me. That every single time he suggested anything, he wanted validation. It was completely out of proportion. It was a distorted view of how much validation they should be giving him because he was coming from a wounded little boy who wanted daddy to tell him what a good little boy he was, what a good job he did, that this project he did in school was fantastic. Yes, you're doing such a good job. Oh, you're working so hard. Good job. He wanted that. This is the wound he carried. It was a daddy wound. And daddy did not validate, acknowledge almost at all. And he was a very disengaged parent. He dismissed him. He just completely disengaged from him, did not spend quality time, etc. You see the wound? This is the wound he's carrying. And because he carried this wound, it was not healed yet. He literally was coming from distortion because what he learned from dad, no matter what I do, no matter how much I do, no matter how good I am, no matter what accomplishments I achieve and what my achievements are, it's never good enough. It is never enough to get your approval. I am never good enough. That is the wound. Those are the programs that this man carried as an adult. These are his inner child wounds, okay? So you understand the inner child wounds that he was carrying, and what you do, you distort the truth. You distort your ability to see and witness and experience truth. Capital T, the universal way of oneness, the way of truth. There is a truth in all scenarios. None of this my truth fucking bullshit that you all need to put in the fucking trash and take it out to the curb and never pick it up again, this my truth bullshit. Because you know what my truth is in this scenario? His truth is they don't acknowledge me. They don't appreciate me. They don't value me as an employee. Blah, 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 blah. Vomit, vomit. You're projecting that onto these people. They're not doing that to you at all. My truth comes from ego and wounding. Get rid of the my truth fucking bullshit. Get off that bandwagon crap. What is the universal truth in this scenario? The universal truth in this scenario is they constantly validated him until they no longer did it because he was the one who wasn't hearing their accolades, their approval, their appreciation of him. He was the one distorting the truth with his wounding, misperceiving, completely being blocked from the ability to receive praise. Oh, that's important for you to hear. He was blocking himself from hearing, from receiving the praise he was actually getting from them because he was unhealed. He carried these wounds. And then he projects onto them. They're a bunch of management assholes who think they're better and they know better and they don't appreciate him and blah, blah, blah. There go the mental programs, all the fucking insane stories the mind tells about other people when we ourselves are in wounding. Do you see it? So he started requesting meetings, and in the meetings, they're like, this is getting annoying. Several meetings, half a dozen meetings later, they're like, and guess what? Oh, this is how he was forcing them to be a parent. His parent, the one who he carries an unhealed wound with, his father. Remember, I told you what was his wound. He didn't get praise. His father was a disengaged parent who was very dismissive of him. Didn't acknowledge him, didn't spend quality time. Get it? So this is how we create our reality. When we carry that wound inside of us and it's not yet healed, we project that onto others, and then we create our experiences. We create our reality that we don't want to experience because we reenact our childhood over and over and over again. Whether you realize it or not, you are reenacting your childhood over and over again. You are reenacting your wounds that are unhealed over and over and over again, creating your reality from those unhealed wounds over and over and over again. I want you to see it so you can stop doing it to yourselves. Because this unhealed wound is there, he's now forcing management. He is forcing management to become the disengaged, dismissive father, dismissive parent, because they got real sick of having meetings of them like, what are you talking about? We acknowledge you all the time. And then it gets really obnoxious that they are acknowledging him, validating him, thinking he's great, because that's why they hired him. It gets really freaking old, really freaking fast when somebody keeps projecting onto you something you are not doing. You're not acknowledging me. Bro, 10 minutes ago, bro, just told you how freaking great you are. Are you deaf? Why are you not hearing me? Right? So now what happens is because he's projecting his wounds onto them, his distortion onto them, they are now, he's forcing them to become the dismissive, disengaged father who they're annoyed. They don't want to be around him. They don't want to hear him. They don't want to hear his voice. And they have no grounds to fire him. There's no grounds to get rid of him. They're not justified in firing him. He's showing up, meeting all of his job responsibilities. He's doing everything he's supposed to do. They can't fire the guy. And yet he's obnoxious and annoying. So guess what they stop doing? They stop verbally praising and giving him the accolades. They stop listening to him. This man was, because of his wounding, was forcing these people to be the disengaged parent. And then he is in sessions. I don't understand. And he's freaking out. Well, this is what we do in coaching at Masters of Self University, of course. He was able to move through some sessions where, oh my God, I see it. I see what I'm doing. I see what I'm creating. And he saw the wound, and he saw that it was daddy wound. And he saw exactly what the wounds were and what the programs are that he's playing out and acting out in his life, at his job, and how he's forcing management to be the disengaged, dismissive parent who, of course, is never going to validate or acknowledge or like, I don't want to be around you. You're forcing them to disengage from you. You're forcing them to be that parent. Okay. So he worked on healing the wounds. And then he would show up in meetings and his energy was very different. He himself, the beingness of him, his energetic being sitting in all these meetings with management, he was different. He didn't even say a word. I said, don't you dare request another goddamn meeting with these poor people projecting your wounds and shit all over them. Leave them alone. Heal yourself and simply show up differently at work every single day for a period of time. Every single day in every one of these damn meetings that you have weekly, show up from a healed, whole, powerful person that you are. Be that person. Worked on healing, showed up differently, and guess what happened? Within a matter of a couple of months, not requesting meetings, not telling them you're not validating me, you're not acknowledging me, meh. No, not showing up as an immature little boy anymore. Instead, he was showing up energetically as a powerful, healed, mature adult. And all of a sudden, the accolades started happening again, the validation. Hey, that's really great, man. It happened a little bit. And they no longer were disengaged. They started to re-engage and connect to him in a really lovely way. And he was now from a healed, whole, powerful place, which meant he was able to receive it. So he actually received it. Thanks. I really appreciate you saying that. He now was acknowledging them. You see it? And because he started acknowledging them, it made it a lot easier for them to become open again, re-engage, reconnect with him. And then they started to have this beautiful relationship. In a matter of just a couple of months, they actually gave him a promotion and gave him more job responsibilities. So like, you're amazing. And he was able to receive the promotion, the validation, the verbal acknowledgement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because he healed himself. He also was able to reflect back and see that the whole time they were giving him, in the beginning, the first several months, for 6 months he was working for them, they were giving him validation, accolades, all of it, until he forced them to be the disengaged parent. See how he was sabotaging his relationship with them? He was creating that. Okay, I want you to see it. So he healed himself, and organically, as a byproduct, his whole job situation completely changed. It evolved. It became more elevated. It was beautiful. He's appreciated. He loves his job. He doesn't feel at all the way he felt before. And management, they energetically changed because he energetically changed. All right. So I want you to see that. And I'm going to switch over to romantic relationships. All right. I want to give you examples here. We show up all the time as unhealed inner children in our romantic relationships. We do it constantly. Our unhealed aspects of us show up, take over. We project our wounds onto our partner. We show up as little children, immature, emotionally fragile little children. We're not standing in our power. Okay. And what we do is we force our partners to then either be the nag, the constant nagging parent. Pick up after yourself. Do this. You're not doing that. You're not cleaning up. And you're like, stop nagging me. I'm an adult. But are you? Eek. But are you? Because when your inner child shows up, you're not an adult in those moments. When your inner child is making choices for you in that relationship, no, you're not showing up as an adult. And what you're doing is you're forcing your partner to show up as a parent instead of as your romantic partner. Trust me when I tell you, nobody wants to be your parent relationship. You're forcing them to take on a parenting role because you're showing up as an immature little child. And part of what we do here is at Masters of Self University in our coaching programs, we awaken to how we are showing up that way. What programs am I running? What unhealed wounds do I have? When I see that, I own it. And then energetically, I alchemize those programs so they no longer exist within me anymore. I no longer force my partner to play my mommy or my daddy instead of my romantic partner. You wonder why sex fades real quick. It's not because of the reasons they tell you out there in the world. It's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. Don't listen to it anymore. It's fucking bullshit. You want to know the fastest way passion dies in a relationship, that sex dies? The first thing to go is sex. Who the fuck wants to fuck their child? Take pedophiles off the table, because I know that exists. And I am not saying that in a facetious way. I mean it. I know that exists. I want to acknowledge and validate that. Remove that dysfunction and people that do that from this conversation. Generally speaking, healthy people don't have a desire to have sex with children. But guess what? Here's the hard truth, and you need to hear it. When you show up as a child in your relationship, why in God's name would your partner actually then be sexually attracted to you, want to have sex with you? Why? You're ruining the sexual attraction. You're ruining the desire to want to be naked and be sexual and be sexually intimate with you. You're destroying that desire in your partner by forcing your partner to show up as your goddamn parent. And this happens, this is rampant in romantic relationships. It is across the board. I see it constantly. And then it's like, well, I want to have sex. I want to have sex. Well, stop acting like a little immature child in your relationship. Heal yourself, step into your power, show up as an emotionally, mentally, spiritually mature, divine adult. You will never have to worry about passion lacking in a relationship when you show up that way. All right. So you need to hear that. You understand that, you start paying closer attention to how you're showing up as a little immature child, forcing your partner to then be the parent that, trust me, they don't want to play that role for you. It's not fun. They don't want to play it. They don't want to be that. They don't want to sound like that. They don't want to do that. They don't want to be that way. You're giving them no choice. Let me give you a real life example. So in one example, There's a partnership where the fiance, the husband, they were domestic partnership, call him husband. The husband in this relationship was very successful lawyer, and took care of all things financially for people in his career, right? That's what he did for a career. And in this partnership, he was the one that said, look, they actually had a business together in addition to what they both did for a living. They had a business together, and he said, this is what I do for a living. I mean, I'm a financial lawyer, blah, blah, blah. So I'll handle this stuff for our business. I'll handle, paying the bills and the taxes and blah, blah, blah. That was what they agreed worked for their relationship. She handled other things, okay, with the business, but not like the taxes and paying all that kind of stuff. Well, he just wouldn't make payments on things. She's like, just set up auto payment. Just do this, just do that. Taxes are coming up. Did you pay the taxes? No. Well, they're due. So make sure you pay that. And he wouldn't do it. And he wouldn't do it. And he wouldn't do it. He forced her to turn into the nagging mother. Are you doing it? Are you showing up responsibly? Are you getting it done? No. And then they would have conflicts. And she's like, I don't know how to say this in a way where I don't sound like a nagging mom. She would leave him notes. She would leave him Post-its. She would send him emails as reminders. She's like, why am I constantly wasting my time reminding him to do something that, first of all, he's a mature adult man. He has a career. This should be easy for him to step up and take this role. And he wanted this responsibility. This is part of our agreement as a partnership. You do this part, I'll do this part. And he just wouldn't do it. They would get late penalties and all of this stuff. Financially, he was screwing them over because he's like, I got all this stuff. Even paying their mortgage, just wouldn't pay it. It would just be late. She's like, do you just set up auto pay? Most of this can be on auto pay. And he wouldn't set it up on auto. She's like, do you want me to just set everything up on auto pay? And he'd be like, no, no, no. Let me fast forward. This went on for a couple of years, and he really put them in a tremendous amount of a financial, very sticky situation. They were in debt. They weren't paying. He wasn't paying things. She would have to step in. What are the accounts? What are the passwords? I'll do it. Bottom line, when she would flip out and finally scream at him, and I mean lose it, she would just pushed to no end. She'd finally lose it and scream. He would go on and pay everything because she flipped out and screamed at him. Now, in a coaching situation, she's asking, this is insane. I do not handle things this way. I don't scream. I don't just lose my shit and flip out. It's like, I'm not trying to be irresponsible, like he's forcing me to do it. We did coaching to understand what programs he was running. He was running, I'm an irresponsible, I can't do anything. I'm not capable. He was running all these programs. I'm an irresponsible little boy. I'm incapable. I can't do it. And because it was a romantic partnership, he was showing up from his wounded inner child, being irresponsible, no accountability, so that he would get screamed at and scolded. I'll just take a wild guess what kind of parent he grew up with. He grew up with parents that didn't teach him anything. They were disengaged. He had to figure it out on his own. And then when he would screw it up, not get it done, forget something, they would scream and yell. Mom would lose it, scream and yell, how irresponsible, you can't be trusted, you're incapable, blah, blah, blah. And this is what he was reenacting and recreating over and over in his relationship. So the little reminders, hey, this bill's coming up, taxes are coming up, hey, yeah, I'll get to it. Don't worry. And then he just would never do it because he was reenacting and recreating his experiences from childhood over and over again in his current romantic relationship. I want you to see that. And here we have the audacity to say, she loses her shit and flips out and screams. Well, I'm not a child. She's not my parent. Well, she's not, except that you're forcing her to play a parenting role because you're the one showing up with no accountability, no responsibility. No reliability. Like, let's look at the programs you are actually running here, and you're forcing her into a role that she doesn't want to play at all. Not to mention That is not normally the role. That's not how she shows up. She doesn't run a program of, I'm going to be a parent to my romantic partner. That's not normally how she shows up in a relationship. So I want you to really get this. We force someone else to show up as a parent. She didn't have much of a choice. Everybody has free will choice. That's a gray area. Nuh-uh. I'm here to tell you, nuh-uh, that's not black and white. No matter how she handled it, no matter loving, gentle way, not saying a word, doing nothing about it, just letting him do it, and then nothing would get done. Late payment, penalties. You get it, right? You're hearing this? And so what really needed to be first understood, what programs are we running? And then with her, it was, oh my God, he's forcing me to scream and lose it. I can't stand this. This is bullshit. So what are my two options? Her only two options at this point are to end the relationship and leave, get out. That's it. Or scream, flip out, be the scolding, obnoxious parent. And I said, well, your two options are not to wait to scream to where you actually lose it, because she would just be pushed for, months at a time. And then after 2-3 month pattern, she'd lose it and flip out. Okay. So I told her, your two choices are to leave, get out, or you don't wait 2 and 3 months. You yell in the first week. She's like, what? I'm like, well, he's forcing you to be the parent, to be the fucking parent. Because he's going to learn real quick. Stop what you're doing right fucking now. You have 24 hours to get this shit done. Like, if that's what he's creating, then consciously choose to play the role as a parent. Why? Because he isn't going to fucking like it. That's why. And then he's going to wake up to what he's doing. And you'll let him know, this is it. You're choosing me to be like this. This is what you're choosing in this relationship because of your unhealed shit. So here I am. You are now getting what you've been asking for the last several years. I'm now going to choose to give you exactly what you've been asking for this whole time, because I'm awake enough now to see you're running a dysfunctional, unhealthy program of forcing me to be your parent. I now see it. I'm not going to let you do this to me for 2-3 months. I'm just going to choose to flip out and scream at you today. So just so you know, that's what's coming. And the only way for us to continue in this relationship, I'm either going to leave or I'm just going to give you what you've been asking for. Not a pleasant relationship to be in. But guess what? When she consciously chose to be, instead of being forced into being the parent, okay, I'm a parent today, and she just put the fucking smack down, he started to realize, holy shit, I don't want to be married to, I don't want to be in a domestic partnership with mommy. And the only way now to stop that is to start healing your wounded inner child, that immature little boy who learned that he's powerless, that he's incapable, that he's not worthy, that he can't do it, he's not good enough, give up, I'm lazy, I'm not going to bother. Why? Because I deserve to be screamed at. That was his program. I deserve to be screamed at and told that I am pathetic and I screwed up again. That's what I deserve. That little boy believed that that's what he deserved. And that's why and how he was creating that in a relationship. And I want to point something out. It is also why talk therapy, oh, let's just communicate better bullshit. Those strategies don't heal this kind of stuff. They don't heal deep wounds that you need to see you are actually acting out over and over again in your life and in your relationships. That is the beautiful thing about Masters of Self University. Our coaching programs teach you this and show you this, right? We don't want to show up as children. We don't want to be doing that, forcing our partner to be a parent. And we're the immature little child, the irresponsible, unreliable little child. We don't want to be showing up that way. So guess what? We just learn how to see it, how to own it, and then how to actually transform it so it doesn't exist in us. That's not part of who we are anymore, right? It's a step-by-step process to learn how to do that, how to see what's in there, how that is actually creating the reality that we probably don't want to be experiencing. Who wants to experience that? But that's what it means to be spiritually unconscious. That just means I don't have the level of self-awareness to see exactly what programs I'm running, how that's creating my reality, what wound it stems from, and then how to heal that wound and heal those programs so they no longer exist. Forget it with the change your perspective, change the way you think. Years and years, it could take decades. Just learn how to go straight down to see the programs you're running, how that's creating your reality, and how to heal the core wound that is creating all of that to begin with. This is the science of energetics. You learn energetics with this stuff so that you can alchemize and change the energies of those programs so they no longer show up as you. All right. So, with those couple of examples, the question is, how am I showing up as a child in my relationship? That relationship, romantic, in my relationship at work. When you are a part of a corporation, a business, and you don't like how things are going down, are you reliable? Are you fulfilling all of your job responsibilities? That's an easy yes or no. Are you showing up? Are you responding, completing the tasks, doing the trainings, following through with everything you're supposed to do at work? Yes or no? Are you projecting your wounded inner child onto your management team, onto your boss, onto your director, onto the CEO, onto the whomevers? It's real easy to say that people in upper management just don't get it and they're greedy and they're selfish and they're this and they're that. Oh, that's real easy to project that. But is it that black and white? This does not mean there are not companies and corporations and individuals that exist on this planet that are insanely greedy. Yes, that exists. I'm not talking about them today. Remove them from the equation today. Yes, there is a percentage of people on the planet who are really greedy and they're really unfair and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not talking about them. Why am I not talking about them? I want to focus on one thing today in this episode so that you can see how are you showing up as a little immature boy or girl when you are at work, when you are, especially when you're dealing with anybody in management, especially that. Why? Because a little child who has these wounds, who had these experiences, looks up at the quote unquote superior adults around him. He learns that's the authority figure. I'm inferior to you. And boom, here come all the programs. Our distortion, our mental distortions are created very young at very early ages. And we're just carrying them through and playing them out. So often I have seen this in every place I've worked at, that people are showing up, employees are showing up in their distortions and their unhealed inner child wounds and programs, and they're projecting that onto people who they deem and see as power figures or authority figures. And then they bitch and complain about the way things are done here, about management. And then they get consequences for things. And they're like, oh, I don't like how they talk to me. I don't like this punishment. Well, are you showing up as a child and forcing them to be the parent? If you want that to stop, if you want them to be different, you need to heal yourself and show up as a divinely powerful person instead of an immature, broken, unhealed, powerless little child. You want management, you want people to treat, you want your boss to treat you differently? Stop showing up as a child. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now, to get help to stop showing up as a child in order to see the programs you're running and projecting on other people, that is a process. So I would strongly encourage you, if you're struggling with things like this, go to mastersofselfuniversity.com, schedule a free consultation with one of our incredible, amazing coaches so you can see the programs that you're running so that you can heal those and you can show up with self-empowerment as the most magnificent, powerful, amazing version of you that exists in this lifetime. You show up like that. Other people will not anymore, ever again. And I mean this. They cannot energetically show up the same way, which is as your scolding parent, because you're no longer showing up as an immature, irresponsible little child. Do you see it? Right? So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Please share this with everybody you know. Boy, there are so many people that needed to hear this one. Okay, one more time. Go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. Check out our classes that are coming for 2023, starting in January. Sign up for those classes. We have incredible classes at our university for you to sign up for. And we also have individual and relationship coaching. So schedule those free consultations so that you can heal your life and relationships today through the processes that we teach at Masters of Self University. Thank you so much for listening, beautiful souls. Sending all the love from the universe to each and every one of you. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now, everybody.